You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Teen Wolf After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Teen Wolf After Show.
Hello, AfterBuzzers. We're here during another AfterBuzz TV after show for MTV's Teen Wolf Season 4, Episode 4, The Benefactor. I'm your host, Kristen Snyder, and joining me, AfterBuzz TV host June Lee.
Hi, everyone.
We have two special guests for you today. We have Teen Wolf editor Gabriel Fleming. Woo! And assistant editor Betsy Thompson. Thank you guys so much for coming in.
Of course, it's a pleasure.
What was your favorite scene to edit this episode?
Oh, there was a couple really good ones. There's this one that the song is playing to right now, the Kira and Scott.
It's called Us Movement.
Yes. This scene that this song was used for was really a nice romantic scene.
Was it filmed in a boathouse?
It was filmed on a set.
Yeah.
On a very beautiful set with a big 3-inch deep pool of water outside that made the lake and a big old moon. So just like this.
It was really beautiful.
Yeah, and a lot of smoke and steam kind of going across.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And there were these little tiny, if you looked across the fake lake, there are these little tiny model houses that are lit up. So you can kind of see in the background.
That's awesome.
It's a beautiful set.
I will have to rewatch that. Yeah. I heard you were going to tell us who the benefactor was.
Yeah.
Yes. We're here to tell you.
To spoil it for everyone.
That the benefactor.
Wait for it.
I can't say it. I'm sorry. I just can't. I just felt myself getting fired. It might be Tyrion Lannister, though. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh my god, we love you guys. Thank you. I think it is Tyrion. That would make sense because they need the money in King's Landing. Probably more than they do in Beacon Hills.
They're bankrupt.
Well, no, but the benefactor is giving the money out, so that's Lannister gold that's paying for all of these murders.
That's a good point. I would. It's probably Cersei too.
Cersei, too, yeah.
Yeah, and her dead son probably rose from the dead in Teen Wolf. Anyway, getting into the episode, we start off with Sheriff Stilinski and Derek. They're like investigating the Wendigo murder on top of the hospital, and we actually find out that Derek knows that somebody else was there, and so then we're taken to excuse me. We're taken to the scene where like Peter is exploring Derek's loft, looking for him, and he gets like an tomahawk with wolfsbane into his chest.
Insane.
I was like,
what? Crazy. And like I love the paper just like getting stuck to his chest. It was such an awesome moment. But did you guys feel? I felt like that moment on the roof with Derek and Stilinski. It felt very like procedural a little bit. Like this episode felt a little procedural.
A little Law and Order.
Yeah. Right? I love it.
Dun dun. There's a dead body, and
I liked Derek working with Stilinski, though.
I like it too. I love Stilinski. I mean, he's one of my favorite characters.
I feel like this was the first time they've like shared screen space. I mean, you guys would know because you're the editors, but just the two of them, I haven't really seen them like go on.
This is their first kind of like working together,
but buddy crime episode.
Yeah. They make a good pair.
Yeah,
I thought so.
I love that moment when he's like, I have my own expert coming in on this.
Yeah.
It's like
we call that the Batman moment. When he turns around and Derek is just standing there.
Yeah. So many little moments in this episode that I loved.
I enjoyed that, and I want to talk about whenever they get that message, continuing with their little buddy adventure, when they're at the sheriff's department and they're kind of logged in the computer and they see that the benefactor says, like, money's been transferred. And they find out that, he's not just a killer. He's like an assassin and this sniper. Now, I want to know, later on in the episode, we see the mute actually get killed by Peter. Are there other mutes? Because I really wanted to know. I really wanted them to take him in for questioning, and I wanted to know, like, why is he doing this? That whole, like, transfer of information through the blood thing was really awesome, and I wanted to know everything. And now, like, he's dead, so I'm hoping there are more mutes, or maybe he's not dead.
Maybe there's more mutes.
Yes, Jude?
I think that the mutes were some sort of, like, military experiment, and the reason why they don't have a mouth is because I think they were human. I think the mute is human. I don't think he's supernatural. And I think they soldered their mouth or found people that didn't have mouths to begin with, because there are people like that supposedly.
Or maybe they were supposed to, like, keep some secret and they didn't want them to talk.
I think the reason why for that is, like, they were sent on, like, these super dangerous top secret missions, and that and, like,
what you guys don't know is it's an Avengers crossover. So this is a Marvel universe. Yes. Mute is actually Wolverine.
It's starting to make sense now, actually. Yeah. I get it. So we get that part where Derek and the sheriff actually go to the school where the internet signal came from, and they see the blood coming out from under the door, but Derek's like, that's weird because I didn't smell it. So at that point, we realize, okay, this must be fake blood. And then they kind of hesitate to open the door, and it's good they did, because there was a bomb behind the door and they would have died. So then, they have this fight with the mute, and they finally get him under control, and then here comes Peter. Yeah. Who just, he's a creature of habit and just takes life right out of him. So it seems like Peter comes up with, like, this stuff that he's holding, which makes the mute seem like he's not a person or he's some sort of, like, technology creature. I don't know. Like, I had no idea what he was sort of holding there. Can you guys talk about that?
He's holding his mouth.
That's what I was thinking.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking,
like,
too.
What is this thing?
Like, he, like, ripped out his mouth. Or, yeah, that's what I thought, too.
Peter's a, curious creature also.
Yes. Well, I think he got to the bottom of it. And hopefully absorbed some answers for us. So, then we got that whole part where Derek actually saved Stilinski from the tomahawk, so that was nice. He sort of owes him one in the future. And then I want to move on to sort of talking about Stiles and Malia, because they're, like, my favorite couple. I know a lot of people give them hate, but
no, I love them. I
do too.
I literally cried. I was, like, tearing up, and I didn't know what it was, but it was just like, gosh, that moment was just so intense for me.
Right, so we get Stiles helping Malia, like, prepare for the full moon, and I love that part where Stilinski walks in, and he, like, has Malia in chains, and Stiles is like, says to his father, "It's not what you think." Oh, we have a caller on the line. Yay. Caller, what's your name? Where are you from?
Hey, party people. It's Josh from Florida.
Hi, Josh from Florida.
Hello, Josh.
Hi. Do you have a question for Gabe and Betsy?
Well, the question's pretty much for all of you guys. I just wanted to know, what did you guys think of, I guess without, spoiling the rest of the episode, because you guys haven't got there, but the whole scene with Lydia, by her, I felt like the whole party scene specifically, like, it feels like she's changed a lot. Like, a couple seasons ago, she was, like, as Stiles said, the party queen, the one who everyone, really looked to throw a huge party. And this episode, she really seemed like she just was withdrawn from all of it. Like, she was kind of over it. Same way she felt like the raid scene from last season, like she was just over it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the loss of her best
party
friend
Lydia
really like affected her personality in a way, made her more mature, made her just
The loss of Allison?
Yeah. I mean, she's been through, they've all been through a lot, but yeah, the loss of Allison, and then also just Lydia's coming to terms with her power, I think, has made her, forced her to grow up a little faster than she would have liked to. Yeah, maybe there's some more party Lydia left. Or maybe she'll go into that a little bit more in her 20s or something. But right now, I think
College
she's just
Lydia?
grappling. Yeah, college Lydia.
Well, it seems like her family is having financial troubles as well.
Right.
Because
Yes.
they're getting ready to sell the house for some reason.
It seems like this season has a lot to do with money. Josh, what did you think about Lydia? Do you think now she's more mature? Because she really freaked out when that wine got spilled on the carpet. That's not the old Lydia.
No. I think, it's just as we get older, we take on more responsibilities, and sometimes, responsibilities hit us when we're younger than others, and we just have to learn to grow and accept it. And I feel like, I guess Allison was her backbone. I feel like the people who you're around the most are the ones who, you really cling to and you grow to. And I feel like besides Allison, there was Stiles, and no one else you really communicated with on that personal level. So I mean, just like anybody, losing your best friend, I just feel like it takes time, to get back into your old mojo.
Well, the show has, emotional consequences. That's one of the things that makes Teen Wolf, I think, unique as a teen drama, is that these characters have been through really, really horrible things, and each event causes them to grow in a certain way. And in a lot of ways, she's been one of the, gone through a lot of more changes than a lot of the other characters. I'm curious to see how she develops over the season.
I think she's definitely getting older and more mature, and the party scene's not her scene anymore. It's more about where dead people lie. Seems to be where the party is for her. She likes to party with the underworld these days.
If only her powers told her where the next party is.
That would be amazing. Josh, thank you so much for calling in. We really appreciate your support.
Thanks,
no
Josh.
problem. You guys are awesome.
Bye, Josh. So getting back to Stiles helping Malia. So I like that moment when he sort of, tells her, I know exactly what you're going through. I know you're scared because you hurt your family, but I can relate to that because when I was Void Stiles, I did a lot of things I wasn't proud of, and in the end I found out, that control is really overrated. And at that point he lets her go, and right before she basically eats him or attacks him, like, she gets herself under control. What was it like editing those moments with Stiles and Malia, and do you guys like their relationship as the editors? Do you guys have a team, certain relationship that you root for?
I really like Stilinski and Melissa.
Me too. Me too. We got to get that wedding ring off him, though.
I know.
That's right. The Stiles and Malia, Dylan and Shelley are really great actors, and they have a really great chemistry. And that scene, I think, really showed how well they could work together on an emotional level. And as kind of contrasting with the earlier scene where they're putting the chains on, which was a comic scene, and they both are able to bring that element to both ends of the spectrum. And it was a really fun scene to work with, just because of Malia's transformation and her. There was a lot of great material, of just heartbreaking material with
when
her.
you guys are editing that, the special effects aren't done yet, right?
No.
Right, okay, so how does that go into play? Is it difficult sometimes?
Well, actually, in this particular scene, we had it was problematic because of her eyes. So the eye shots cost money. And it's a long scene where she should be, Were-Coyote. And we just couldn't feature her eyes on through the whole thing because it was just too expensive. So we had to orchestrate a way that we could have her eyes be on sometimes and not other times, and then have her kind of the back to the shot a little bit more in certain moments, while at the same time keeping a balance with being able to see her face and be able to perceive the emotion that's going on there. So yeah, all of those, any visual effects sequence that is emotional like that is a real challenge to kind of balance our budgetary constraints against against the drama.
I think you guys have had a history with being able to balance it really well, and just really conserving those moments when you really see. I remember, we saw the twin split once, I think, fully.
Right.
Like you guys really, save it and just show it when it's with the biggest bang, for your butt.
And then it goes on, off camera. Or, we rarely ever see someone actually transform from human form into a wolf form, because that's expensive, but there's a million ways to do it where it kind of happens.
Right. But then
screen.
It doesn't take anything away from it.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think it's better.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I agree with that. It just being fully in your face.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's get to the main story, how, Scott has bitten Liam, and he calls Stiles to the rescue because he doesn't know what to do. So he basically kidnapped Liam from the crime scene, has him held up, and Stiles gets there, and he's like, what are you doing? And he kind of helps him calm him down, and then they get played by Liam. And
I saw that coming.
Yeah, I'm like, really? He's not going to cry. But at that point, I was still thinking, maybe he's something else, because the whole thing seemed to not be affecting him as much as it did the other people when they first got bit. So I was like, maybe he's not a werewolf. Maybe he was already some kind of supernatural creature, because he was just handling it very well, and he was fighting off everybody without being a werewolf, he took the chair to them, and he actually escaped.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was some interesting dialogue going on YouTube. Lexi Howard was saying that Peter has a son.
Oh.
Yeah, and so they think that maybe Liam is Peter's long-lost son, and how similar Liam looks to Peter when he was younger. And
Peter has a lot of kids floating around.
They kind of look like.
Yeah, that's just a happy coincidence.
Yeah, I don't know about that, because we don't know. We only know who his stepdad is, so it's a possibility. Right. Could be.
That it was really interesting.
Yeah, that is. Thanks for bringing that up, June. So we get that Lydia writes this code unknowingly, and she's talking to Kira about it, and she's saying, I drew the Nebaton tree, so obviously if we can figure out this code, it could help us. So she gets the lake house keys from her mother, and they use Kira as a vixen to invite Liam to the party. And we were talking about this scene earlier when, she's walking down the stairs and she trips and falls. Now, was that I saw her feet go up, so she probably walked down the stairs and fell onto an air mat, or what?
Oh yeah, it was a mattress. Yeah, which is why we didn't have the actual impact.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that.
No, I don't want her fall.
I don't want to see Kira fall.
I thought it was funnier to see the feet come up.
The feet come up.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
No, we love her character, and especially in these moments where she's supposed to be this sexy one, and she totally fails and falls and something like that.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love Kira.
But she can do it too. She was
a trickster.
Doing it.
Maybe it's all a trick.
Tripped. Yeah.
Yeah.
The clumsiness.
Oh yeah, she was doing it.
I mean, it still worked. He came to the party.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And it actually worked better, because he came to her rescue and kind of picked her up.
I thought he was going to catch her.
That would have been awesome.
And then they could have ridden off into the sunset.
Yes, exactly.
Why didn't that happen, guys? Did you guys leave that part out? Did somebody cut that in the editing room?
It was Betsy.
Betsy!
Betsy was like, nope, nope.
Ships to protect here.
So Stiles finds out that Liam has a serious anger issue and took a crowbar to his teacher's car at his old school. And at this point, I'm scared for the pack. So I'm like, what's this kid gonna do? We've seen him fight them off already, and now he's got these crazy anger issues.
I was worried for Kira, and when that red car pulled up to the house, I was like, whew, thank goodness.
The red Toyota.
Yeah.
Shout out to Toyota.
I love their product placements, like the Samsung Galaxy.
Oh, we love it.
The music.
Wonderful.
Is it difficult to work around, or is it pretty easy to put those in?
It's difficult to make them feel not super like slap in the face, which, you know, sometimes we have to make them slap in the face.
I feel like if you don't work in the industry, though, it's really not obvious. Like when I was younger,
on the
I
internet,
never really noticed.
They notice.
Maybe they're getting smarter. Those internet people.
Yeah. Well, no, this is a new thing though. Like over the last 10 years.
Placement,
yeah, it wasn't as prevalent back in the day.
It was always like a little bit, but now it's just like a lot. Because that's a lot of where the money comes from.
Right.
That makes sense. For those Teen Wolf eyes.
Yeah.
You want the eyes? We gotta add the phone in the car.
Toyota.
Exactly.
So they take Liam to the lake house and they have a little intervention with him. And right before he basically runs out again, and we see him getting very angry, he kind of breaks down and starts turning again. And I love that part.
Scratches the floor.
He scratches the floor. I love that part where he is asking what everybody is, and he looks at Stiles and he's like, "What are you?" And he's like, "Well, I was possessed by a dark evil spirit at one time." And he's like, "Well, what are you now?" And he's like, "Better." That was one of my favorite parts.
What is he supposed to say? He's just like, "I don't know, it's evil." Like,
you know what? I feel like when people ask, it kind of makes him feel bad that he's not something supernatural.
All his friends are now.
He should feel good about it.
Should be like human.
I mean, I like Team Human. I'm all in support of that. But whenever he was like letting Malia out of the chains, I'm like, does he like want the bite because of that moment? Because they were kind of pointing him out that he doesn't have a special power. So I was like,
he's getting a little jealous.
That's a good insight,
okay? Either way, he obviously doesn't want her to bite him, but if it does, maybe he wouldn't be upset with that happening.
That's
Is
very
he the
true.
only human left of the teen group?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Because it was Allison and then
Mason. That we know of.
That we know of. That we know of.
I mean, everybody that we know of.
Right. Okay.
All the new people.
in the actual
the new freshmen, Garrett, Violet, and Mason are new freshmen, which we will get to later. Which I'm shocked about their past. I definitely want to talk about that. But so we'll talk about the Lydia throwing a party, and of course she's not happy about this, and she freaks over, when Mason's exploring the house, and she gets upset that the wine is spilled. And I was like, I found this to be a weird moment for her. It was almost out of character, I felt, for her to be that upset and kind of freaking out over something like that. But I think that might have been, her powers being a little OCD or sort of coming in. I mean, that room was very like David Lynch looking, I felt.
Well, as the caller was saying earlier, just in terms of her character change, she used to be a big partier and now she's having a party forced upon her, which is an entirely different experience as a party thrower.
That's a great point.
So she's already in this emotional space where she's just like, this is awful, these people are awful. And so the wine is just that last
straw. That's a good point.
The room,
the soundproof room. Now that makes me think, what the heck happened in this room?
What the heck happened in that room?
the past?
Yeah.
Because why do you have a soundproof room? Those things cost money to build, and you'd have to have a good reason for that.
You'd have to have a reason.
It seems like there's, when she was put on the record and she was hearing like the voices, and then I just love, that's my favorite shot, that scene where, can you guys talk about that, where like the faces are coming through? So that's not a wall. What is that, like some sort of like soft fabric?
You never know with Lydia if what she's seeing or hearing is in the real world or something in her mind that's being communicated to her. So, but yeah, that shot is not CG.
Wow.
For the most part,
For the most part,
I think maybe a little bit.
It's fixed.
With colors.
It's fixed.
Yeah, but we did that.
You guys did an awesome job. I just thought that was so creepy. And just like the whole aesthetic of the room being like that bright white and then a few colorful objects and then like the, the record player, that's very, weird these days.
It's Russell, he's the, one of the directors. It's his Stanley Kubrick. He's always trying to do Kubrick shots. And so that was a very Kubrickian room environment with the red. Kubrick is always about red and white. And black sometimes. So that room was all red and white and black.
It was very creepy.
Yeah.
I just loved the whole feel of it.
Yeah.
And then the faces coming through the walls also made me feel like, okay, what happened in this room? People had to have been killed, you know, and it's soundproof, so no one would have heard like gunshots, screaming, torture, anything.
Or I thought it was really strange that it was, you know, Lydia's lake house, and maybe like, you know, maybe banshees run her family. Like, why is she a banshee? Of all things, she's a banshee for some reason, and they have a soundproof room. I just feel like, you know,
for the screaming, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Press screaming practice.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what was interesting was when I was watching it on the TV, the voices weren't coming out. Like, literally, the
wait, on the West Coast?
Yes.
Well, it wasn't supposed to be voices. I don't think.
I literally
heard
mean the
about that.
dialogue.
You mean the dialogue between Mason and Lydia?
Yes.
Yeah.
Even on the West Coast?
Oh, no, I think I
Coast.
was watching the East Coast taping.
Oh, okay.
So, like, it was so...
But it was on the West Coast as well.
It was.
Yeah.
So
it was all the time
crazy
zones.
because I had watched it on my laptop and I heard them talking, and then I saw it on the TV and they weren't talking, and I was like, but you could still hear all the background music and like her like scrubbing the floor. It was a totally different experience. I thought it was kind of cool, and it was kind of like eerie.
Totally on purpose.
Technical error, yeah.
Totally on purpose. I mean, it didn't.
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I watched it on MTV.com and it's perfectly fine.
It was fine, yeah. And for some of the West Coast, it was fine.
I think so. I think it was
maybe a certain provider.
HD. No.
It was a lot of providers.
No, I did a little like poll today to figure out
what the issue was.
Yeah, I was asking the fans, you know, who had the problems to try and narrow it down.
And did you come to a conclusion?
Well, it's maybe HD. But then there were some SD people,
yeah.
so I think it was a 5.1 issue.
Gotcha.
Which is the audio. So if you have, you know, the surround sound, and 5.1 has a center speaker where the dialogue comes out of, and that speaker might have cut out.
Oh,
so you hear
makes
everything
sense.
else, but just not the dialogue.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That makes a lot of sense. That happens sometimes with
Did you get it?
surround sound.
When did it start to go out?
Right when Mason goes up, and then Lydia's like, "What are you
and then
doing up
it was
there?"
back by the end of the scene.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
And well, and then like she went. The room became silent.
Yeah.
And then she went to the record player. So it wasn't like
It's an
interrupting.
odd coincidence of places for it to happen.
It really was. It really was.
Spooky. It wasn't an accident, guys.
It was on purpose.
It was on purpose. So, you know, this is so weird that what she gets out of this whole thing is that the password is Allison. Now, what could this mean? Is this someone in Allison's family?
Chris Argent.
What could it mean?
I think we did say we thought it was Chris Argent a couple episodes ago. You think he snapped?
I mean, he lost his wife. He lost his daughter. I mean, like,
He's got a beard.
So he's like,
he grew out a beard. He
I
went
love
to
that.
France.
I love the beard.
too.
He goes to France.
But you know what? It's not a bad idea that could be the case because he was out of the picture and now he's back in the picture. He happened to know where everybody was,
Right.
and he did lose everyone. And initially he was against all the supernatural creatures. So, and when people die that we care about, we tend to take it out on somebody.
Yes.
You know,
As
so
to cope.
he could be taking it out on all the supernatural creatures in the town. And he could have put together, you know, his family's not there to help him hunt anymore, so he could have put together this orphan clan to help
One
him.
member of his family to help him hunt.
Kate. That's a good point.
Well, I mean,
Where is Kate?
But furthermore, he could have used her to get that whole thing going. You know?
And maybe he is.
Yeah.
And maybe he is because she was kind of in on it whenever they went to the Hale cellar and stole the money anyway. So, not a bad idea. That could definitely be the plot behind what we're missing here. But, so, the code turns into a dead pool, which all the supernatural creatures are listed. And I have a few questions about this. Is this like a lottery? Because I saw there were numbers beside them. Is that how much you get paid, those numbers,
think
for
so.
killing them? Or is that like a lottery system? Can you guys comment on that at all?
No.
What do you mean lottery system?
Okay, so I thought maybe like they put numbers next to everyone's name and then they would draw a number. And that's who they'd have to kill. But then watching the episode again, some people had the same number next to their name. So I'm like, is that how much they'd get
That's what I
paid
thought.
You thought it'd be how much they'd get paid for killing that person, but some people were only like $25.
I think it's 1,000. I think it's 250,000 or 25,000.
Okay, that would make more sense.
Because you wouldn't put 0,000,000.
Well, I don't know. I might.
That'd just be too much ink to use.
That's a good point. So let's talk about Violet, Garrett, and Mason. Now, we don't know if Mason is an orphan, but it definitely seems like Violet and Garrett are. Because, we get that whole, they're orphans who grew up with, like, a dark past. And now they're working for their friend, the Benefactor, who they don't actually know. But in order to prove their kills, they sent him a text message of the picture. And then money is transferred into their bank account. So I guess because they have this dark past and no real family, they're willing to make money this way. So the Benefactor...
a non-family business, I guess.
Non-family business. The Benefactor has picked these targets, these young kids. And, what's funny is the pack kind of thinks these are professional killers because she does have Violet. We see her kill the keg delivery guy who turns out to be a werewolf that was just hiding amongst society, probably not hurting anybody. And I like those 3 things he recites. He says 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, the truth, and he repeats them. So is that a new verse? Who taught him that verse, and does it really calm them down?
So many interesting questions you pose.
June, do you have any answers for me? They're giving me the poker face over here.
Well, I thought it was really interesting that the last one was the truth because he's using it to hide the truth,
right?
Which is the fact that he's a werewolf, but he's using it to calm himself down. But then I saw the sneak peek of the next episode of the girl in the bus, and she was also saying it. So I don't really know.
And who would have taught them this?
Yeah, and why does all of the rogue werewolves
know this?
Have this. I don't know.
Where do you go to werewolf school?
Yeah.
Where do you learn these verses?
Where's werewolf school?
I think that's Beacon Hills High. I think we've established that.
So basically this whole town, no one's human, pretty much.
Pretty much.
That's what we're learning. Or they're pretending to be. Yeah, they're a beacon so all the super... I mean, why just put a dome over the town?
Yep.
Blow it up. Come on, Benefactor.
I think that's another show.
That might be.
Don't you guys do that show here?
That may have been under the dome. Okay. I just threw that in there. I totally came up with that.
We have betas. We have a show here called Betas.
Yes. There are a few. So Violet has a thermal cut wire that she wears around her neck as a necklace. It heats up.
It's great.
Cuts heads off.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably better than mace, right? If you're walking down Hollywood streets.
I'd go for the mace.
I just ordered mine on Amazon.
Yeah. I always carry mace.
Different decorative buttons.
Yeah.
Great.
But yeah, where do you get the thermal cut wire? That's a new one for me.
I feel like that was a very ancient relic-y looking necklace, and we know that the Argent family has a very long history. And
so maybe they're being supplied with their weapons as well.
It makes sense. If Chris Argent is the Benefactor, it would make sense that he would give them these special weapons because they hunt his supernatural creatures.
And these orphans, they had to have had some training.
Yeah.
Because they are coming off somewhat professional, so far.
It's hard to kill. Well, apparently it's not that hard to kill werewolves, but
normally
you do need a special
tools.
They
make it look easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Allison was trained.
Yeah.
I don't know. They just reminded me so much of Allison because Allison was human, but she had all these special weapons.
So maybe these orphans were adopted by a special hunter father. Who trained them?
So.
But it seems like they don't know who the Benefactor is. It seems like their communication is just via cell phone.
Via text.
Yeah, and text. So,
but he could still train them somehow.
Or send them to a training school. Yeah. I don't know. Gosh, I do not want to be... I feel like perhaps these orphans will switch sides eventually because, they are friends with Liam. Mason's friends with Liam. Mason seems to be friends with Violet and Garrett, who are in a relationship. And it seems like, if the right people would talk to them, perhaps the orphans would switch sides. But I like that there's this human element to this season where it's not a supernatural creature, but there's a really live human who's doing this killing and a bunch of professional orphan killers as well. So I like that storyline came out in this season and in this episode.
Everybody needs money.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you say that because that moment where Garrett, pays for the cake, I think showed a very human and nice side to him, and you kind of get the feeling.
I think he knew he was going to get it back.
She should have rifled through his pockets.
Yeah. I'm sure she did. I mean, they have to get rid of him, right? Or are they just going to leave him there? I guess they might leave him there because it looked like next episode we sort of get the investigation of what exactly happened there.
It's yet another Stilinski.
Stilinski.
Oh, jeez. Dung dung.
Gosh, he's got to, he'd be so successful in any other town because he's got all these acquired skills now from dealing with supernaturals.
He'd just be jumping to the wrong conclusion in these other towns. So
you're like, this was a werewolf.
Oh, Wendigo, yeah. Oh, it's just, okay, no.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. He would definitely always be blaming it on supernatural. That's really funny, actually. I feel like he needs his own spin-off where he does go to another town.
The Stilinski Files.
Yeah, the Stilinski Files.
The X-Files.
I would watch that.
I would watch it too. And you guys can edit it for us. All right. We're going to come film it after hours. You guys don't have enough on your plate, right? How long did this episode take to edit? 4 weeks?
Oh, yeah, 4 weeks standard amount, yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's, as we said before, just Teen Wolf episodes are very cinematic. They're very diverse material. So, yeah, it takes a lot on all sides to make them.
Well, we appreciate it because it looks fantastic. So we get that alone moment with Scott and Kira where, they're kind of babysitting Liam and then kind of not. Kira's talking to Scott and kind of asking him, how can you control it so well? And he's like, well, I focus on keeping my heart rate down. And she turns on this, sexual side, and she suddenly's got this confidence that, I did not see in her before. And she's, doing all these little acts to sort of encourage his heart rate to move, to jump.
Well, she's a trickster. That's her spirit,
But I hadn't seen this in her before.
Really? I thought I had.
Just, the sexual side, because before she was so, nervous around him.
Well, it didn't feel very sexual to me. Maybe that's why. It felt more playful to me.
That's a good point.
She's getting more comfortable with him, too.
Yeah. And then she, his eyes they do turn, and then she's like, oh, and I heard you growl it too, but nope. Liam's awake again, and he gets away, and dun dun dun, our favorite guy, bearded Argent, comes back and saves Scott. That was amazing. And the beard, I mean, is there a serious choice behind that? Did he just grow a beard this season, and Jeff was like, cool, I like it, or is there a choice behind that?
Yeah, I think he grew a beard between the 2 seasons, and Jeff saw it and said, keep it.
Okay.
And then it was, it's a clear character choice too. I think JR grew it in anticipation that it would be a good thing for his character to look like, and he came in and was like, how about this beard? And Jeff loved it.
I agree with that because he has been through a lot. People tend to let themselves go a little bit.
He's been through a lot.
Yes.
He's lost a lot of people.
He can gain, though, from his beard.
Yeah, his beard is supernatural, so
he's lost a lot. We're going to grow it on his face now.
His beard gives him special strength.
That would be awesome. He seemed a lot stronger. He helped Scott, kind of corner Liam to a point where he could talk him down, talk some sense into him. And we get that moment where Liam's like, I can't have my parents see me as a monster again.
Oh, so sad.
And then the hero music cuts in and Scott's like, you're not a monster, you're a werewolf. And I really liked that bond between them. Because before he was trying to tell him, look, we're brothers. But, he wasn't quite getting through.
Yeah.
So we got Liam in that sort of emotional state. And, I mean, what do you think? Do you think he's going to follow Scott now? Do you think he's going to listen to him? Did he get through?
Well, I think that, I don't know, I think in the beginning maybe reluctantly he'll be under Scott. But I think Liam just strikes me as such a temperamental character that, once he realizes all this power he has, I feel like he's going to want more. And I think he just doesn't seem like a follower to me.
Yeah. I guess we'll see. I don't know, because he has been sort of a rebel so far this season, and for him to be under Scott, I don't know if I see that happening anytime soon.
Yeah. I think he's going to try to like bite other people. Maybe Mason and Garrett and Violet.
That'll be interesting. Yeah, because he's sort of a wild card that they can't exactly control.
I want to know how much better he's going to get at lacrosse.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, there was a sneak of that. Right,
a little bit. Was that
we got to see
episode?
Kira playing next episode.
In a lacrosse uniform. That's right. Yeah.
Well, I want to, before we get into predictions, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about, what sort of drew you guys into the industry, into editing specifically.
Oh, interesting.
Why don't you start with that one?
Betsy?
Well, I actually grew up in Wilmington, North Carolina, and when I was in high school, they were shooting Dawson's Creek.
Oh.
And I was always...
Shout out.
Yeah, Dawson's
Love
Creek.
that show.
And I always they were always shooting right near my house, and I would kind of go down there and hang out, and I was like, this is so neat, So that's kind of how I got pulled into TV, and then I went to film school at North Carolina School of the Arts, and did a little bit of everything, and just really liked editing the best. I've always sort of been an indoor kid,
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I like being in an office.
Yeah.
And not having to deal with the chaos of production.
Yes.
Oh, gotcha. What about you, Gabe? What sort of drew you into the industry?
Well, I was one of those kids who always was playing around with the video camera back with when it was like high 8. And I bought a video camera when I was 13. I worked as a busboy at a restaurant, and I saved up, and I bought a video camera, and I made all these little videos, and I just kept making videos, and I never thought of it as a career until probably end of high school or so. It was like, oh, obviously I should do this. So, yeah.
Do you still go back and watch those old videos?
Well, they're all falling apart now because they're all on VHS. So I've been trying to digitize them a little bit, and they're absolutely ridiculous and embarrassing.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Can you
see those.
we should edit them together.
I should.
Please.
Well, that's one of the other, Alyssa Clark, who's been on the show several times as
Love
a writer
Alyssa.
and editor. So she has had a couple times an embarrassing films festival at her house where
That's
people have to bring a
amazing.
terrible
That's so
old
awesome.
film that they made and play them.
That's
So yeah,
amazing.
I played one of those, and it was terrible.
Was it award winning?
It was award-winningly bad. Yes. it was terrible.
What would you guys say has been one of your favorite episodes to edit, or one of your favorite memories from in the edit bay, or a certain scene that really sticks out in your mind?
I actually really liked the quiet room in this episode. Was one of my favorite. Just to be able to play with sound that way and have it be able to really cut out and go quiet, and just to be able to let it be really long. Like usually the shows start out at 45 minutes, 48 minutes, then we have to bring it down to 40 minutes. And that scene, so you just kind of whittle down each scene. And that scene, I did one cut of it, and I was like, I'm never touching this scene again. No pacing is coming out of this. So I just protected that scene, and it never came down at all. It stayed at that long, kind of
that's awesome.
leisurely pace.
It was really...
And that was fun.
It was an amazing section of the episode.
Yeah,
It really was.
It's very memorable.
Yeah, and the audio at the end, Brian Parker did an amazing job with the sound of the record, and that just tied the whole thing together. It's such a scary sound.
It was. Let's see, I know you guys don't get to see the actors a lot, but I know sometimes they come in and they bug you guys in the edit bay. Do you have a funny story of interaction with any of the actors?
Probably, okay, I know. So when I first started, I started at the beginning of season 3. I was sitting in there doing dailies or something, and I hear giggling outside my door, and so I turned around, and it's Dylan and Tyler, and they know that I'm new, you know, and so they kind of trick me a little bit, and they are like, oh, can we watch some dailies, or can we watch the scene or whatever? And I was
actors are not allowed to do that.
And I was like, oh, I don't know, I need to. And they're like, oh, we do it all the time, it's fine. And I just started working there, so I didn't know, and I'm like, all right. And so I started playing the scene for them, And after the fact, I went to Gabe and I was like, well, this just happened, you know. He's like, no, never. Like, they got me. They totally they tricked me.
They
That's
sound
good.
like trickster
They know what
spirits.
they're doing.
Yeah.
They do.
I hear that there's a lot of pranks going on on set.
Yeah, we don't do pranks to each other.
In the editor's
We're
room.
the introverts, you know. We don't appreciate that kind of hijinks.
That's hilarious.
Yes.
Now, I was talking to you guys earlier about some fan art. Can you guys tell us about that?
Yeah.
So we started a fan art gallery in editorial because we needed, we just had all these empty walls and we really needed something to put on them. We were going to put on movie posters, but then we started, we'd all been, you know, emailing to each other little pieces of fan art that we'd seen that we liked. So we just developed that into this project where we printed them out and put them in, you know, fancy frames, being frames from IKEA, and gave them some gallery tags, and and then we have a Tumblr.
We have a Tumblr, and we were featuring a piece of fan art every week.
Oh, cool.
We're currently have featured everything. Oh, we were getting the actors to actually come in and like pose with the art.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's very
Yeah.
cool.
And
Where can we go
yeah.
to see that?
TeenWolfPostProduction.tumblr.com.
Oh, that's so cool.
And we're going to do some more.
Yeah.
Jeff was, the other day, he was walking around just looking at the art, as one does when one is just kind of wandering around editorial, and he said, we need to do more of these.
Yeah.
Let's do more.
Can the fans submit their art to you guys? Is there a way for them to do that, or maybe tweet it at you?
I mean, we love seeing anything that anyone wants to send us. It's so overwhelming. There are so many pieces that we've been just restricting it to the things that we come across naturally.
Yeah.
So we're not really taking official submissions.
Okay.
But of course, anyone can send anything to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay,
it's
cool.
hard because there's so much out there, and there's everyone's so talented, you know.
Yeah.
And so people will send me things on the Tumblr, and I'll look at 10 a day that I would put on the wall any day, you know. So it's just
Yeah.
like, it's so hard. How do you do that? So I try to like whittle them down a little bit
Yeah.
somehow, but it's very hard.
And
just
we
to-
have this, we like to try and keep a balance in terms of the style of the art. So we like to have a
Yeah.
diversity of styles.
Oh,
and
that's
then
right.
also
That's very
the
interesting. Yeah.
characters. We like to have, you know, as many characters represented as we can. And that kind of, you know, so it's more curated than it is kind of like a contest.
Do you have a
like.
favorite piece that you can just tell us about?
We each do.
Yeah, I think
You
everyone
show-
has their own little favorites.
Okay. Well, what would you tell people who want to become editors in the industry? What's like a skill you would tell them to go out and get, or you know, some sort of program they should learn? What do you guys think?
Avid.
Or maybe start out with something free, like, I mean, I would always just start with, if you have a Mac, just start with iMovie. If you have a PC,
yeah.
I don't even know the PC ones, but there's plenty of free ones. Your iPhone, I mean, you can edit on your iPhone.
Yeah.
It's the same basic principle. The tools are not important. Like my dad is always asking me about, so you work on the Avid, you know the Avid? You getting to know that better? And I'm like, it's just a tool. And my dad's a writer, and the one thing that finally convinced him was like, so Dad, you getting to know that Microsoft Word? Getting to know it better?
That's funny.
Learning more about that? And it's like, it's the same thing. So it doesn't,
Right.
like the tool itself isn't really important. It's just a matter
Gotcha.
of doing it. And if you have a phone that has a video camera on it and you can put that into a computer and you can edit it, it's just a matter of doing it a lot.
learning it.
It's like playing an instrument.
Yeah,
you just
really
have to do it.
Lots of
Yeah.
practice.
And that's like the creative side of it for editing. You know, entry level is assistants like me, and that's more technical. So you do sort of have to learn. Like I do have to know. Probably I don't, but I probably should know more about Avid than he does.
Oh, you do for sure. Are you kidding?
Are there any projects that you guys are working on the side that you can mention, or any future projects you're looking into that you definitely want to work on in the future?
I'm working on I mentioned this last time, it's called Donovan and the Vast Ancient Conspiracy.
Yeah.
It's a 6-part, 6 half-hour episode series that's like a very low-budget Indiana Jones.
That's awesome.
We shot all over the world.
So are you guys finishing editing that, or what?
Yeah.
Where are you in the process?
I just in the very, very end of the post-process where I just need to start getting, the visual effects done and the music cleared and that kind of stuff. It's already edited. So just hopefully in a few months.
And you'll tweet that out for us when that's finished?
Absolutely, yes. I'm going to start the whole publicity blah.
Betsy, are you working on anything at the moment, or do you have like a future project in mind you want to work on when you can get away from Teen Wolf?
Well, I'm actually boom-opping for one of the other assistant editors this weekend.
No way!
Greg, one of the assistant editors.
Yes.
And for those of us who don't know what boom-opping is, can you?
Yes, I'm going to be recording the sound and holding the microphone for the actors, and he needed a boom operator, and so
he's filming a side project of his.
He is. He's doing a little So I'm doing that this weekend.
That's exciting.
But nothing personal for me. Just
not yet, anyway.
Just the fan art gallery.
Just the fan art.
Well, I'm sure that's a lot. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and roll into predictions before we head out.
Now, your AfterBuzz TV.
Yes, we have the lights and everything today.
So this is when you guys tell us everything that's going to happen next episode.
Okay. Go.
Ready?
Tyrion Lannister
Is the Benefactor.
Is the Benefactor.
Yeah.
So there's this hit list. Everyone's on it. I feel like we're going to discover a lot more people in the town who are actually supernatural that we didn't know about before. What do you think's going to happen, June?
Well, there was, I think Stephanie Golding on Twitter. I love her because she said that somebody was not on the list. I believe it was Peter wasn't on the list. There were some people who were omitted, or we didn't see their name.
But he did get the tomahawk. This episode,
he did get the tomahawk. So maybe he's already out of it.
Maybe he's already off the list.
But I think Chris Argent is the Benefactor. I think he snapped, kind of like you just borderline personality disorder status.
Yeah, Jasmine on Twitter says, I think the person who stole the $117,000, or what was it, $1 billion, or the 117
million.
Was it million?
Yeah.
Okay, she thinks from the Hale vaults, she thinks it was the Benefactor, and he's using that money to pay the assassins, which I think does make sense. And then Jonathan says, it seems like everyone in Beacon Hills is having money problems, even the Martins. I predict that Derek will share the bonds when found. I don't know. That's interesting.
It was, just to follow up, it was Malia and Kira's mom both weren't on the list as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think you guys should have like super close-up shots of our faces while you read this stuff, so that people
see the poker faces. We need to zoom
see our reactions.
He had me practicing all day.
Poker face, not to give spoilers away.
Don't react.
That's hilarious. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been such a pleasure having you in studio. Gabe, what's your Twitter where the fans can follow you?
It's Gabriel G. Fleming at Twitter.
Awesome. We can't wait to see your 6-piece. Is it a film or it's a web series?
It's an indie television series.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
Indie miniseries.
That's right.
And June, where can we find you?
You guys can find me at Twitter, ms_June Lee.
And then Betsy, can we follow you on the Tumblr?
Yes.
Is that pretty much?
Yeah.
And what is that again? Can you repeat it?
teenwolfpostproduction.tumblr.com.
Awesome. And you guys can follow me at Cinematic Escape, or you can check out my blog, Cinematic Escape. Join us next week for another after show. Thanks.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.